Namaste student. Today we have to discuss about chapter number 2, Nationalism in India of class 10. In this chapter basically we have to discuss about the national freedom struggle introduced by our nationalist leader, as well as we have to discuss about some important moments which were launched by Mahatma Gandhi. Second thing, we also discuss about some important field through which we have to increase aware about our national people related to the national freedom struggle. So let's start first about the conditions which are responsible for the nationalism in our India. One of the major important condition through which we can find out a strong feeling of nationalism was introduced in our India is the First World War. This First World War was created very massive or disastrous result in our Indian society, and these disastrous results are responsible for the aggression, creating aggression among the Indian people. By the effect of this First World War, so many types of problems were find out in the Indian society and the problems faced by the Indian people. Let's see what were the problems. First, increase taxes. To receive the war expenditure, the Britishers introduced high taxes in our Indian society. Already they were taken taxes for our Indian peoples, but during the period of World War from 1914 to 1918, they increased taxes continuously, and they imposed new type of taxes during this particular period, like income tax. Second, price doubled. Most of the raw material which was produced in our Indian society, that was transferred to the British peoples or the nation of to the British nation to continue their industrial production, because of that war, the industries which are introduced in Britain, they don't receive proper amount of raw material. So most of the raw material was passed, or most of the raw material was exported from India to Britain. Along with that, the food requirement of a soldier is also being fulfilled by the Indian farmers. Most of the food crops were exported from India to Britain, or we can say in other words, in a battlefield. That increased the prices, common prices of common commodities, doubled. Prices should be doubled, and because of that, people facing too much trouble, and they started create the system of this price double is creating a huge disturbance, aggression in Indian society. Forced recruitment. This is one of the important effect which we can find out by the First World War. In this, we can find out the British people or the British government forcibly recruit Indian soldiers, especially the people those who were living in villages, to the battlefield as in British soldiers. So that is very disturbing for the Indian society, because most of the families having only one son and only one person, those who earn the livelihood for the entire family. So this particular reason is very much responsible for the aggression of Indian people. Second, crop fail. During the year 1917 to 1918, a massive drought and famine was found in the northern India, and because of that drought and famine, the crops were totally destroyed. Farmers don't have proper amount of food to supply in a market, and by that the people, those who are receiving food, they are also facing the problem of food shortage. This famine and drought causes a massive crop failure. Next, new leaders. During the period of 1914 to 15, so many new leaders, or we can say so many important nationalist leaders were introduced in a Indian political scenario. Like Gandhiji arrived India in 1915. Gandhiji introduced himself in a Indian politics or Indian nationalist struggle in year 1950 when he was returned from South Africa. And this is one of the important turning point for the Indian freedom struggle. After this, year 1915, Gandhiji started so many important protests, so many important movements in India. One of the most important satyagrahas which were introduced by Mahatma Gandhi are Champaran Satyagraha, Kheda Satyagraha, Ahmedabad Satyagraha. Let's see in a detail. The first Satyagraha which was introduced by Gandhiji in year 1916, that is Champaran Satyagraha. This was introduced in Bihar by Mahatma Gandhi in a favor of indigo farmers. The indigo farmers were forced to grow more and more indigo for the British industries. And by growing the indigo, farmers are not able to grow another type of crop in their field because the indigo lost the entire fertility of agriculture field. So for their betterment, Mahatma Gandhi launched his first and successful satyagraha in year 1916 at Champaran, Bihar. Second, Kheda Satyagraha. Kheda Satyagraha was introduced by Gandhiji in year 1917, Gujarat. In Kheda Satyagraha, Gandhiji introduced for the betterment of the peasants and farmers, those who are facing problem because of a long-term famine and drought, which was occurred in Kheda. And because of that drought and famine, they were not able to pay taxes. But still, Britishers received taxes from them. For their justice, for their betterment, Gandhiji launched his second important satyagraha, Kheda Satyagraha, in 1917. And it is also been considered very important and successful satyagraha. Then the last satyagraha which was introduced by Mahatma Gandhi in year 1918 was Ahmedabad Satyagraha. In this Ahmedabad Satyagraha, Gandhiji introduced himself for the betterment of the cotton mill workers. The cotton mill workers which were working in Ahmedabad were highly exploited by the British government. They cannot receive proper amount of wages, they cannot receive any type of allowances, and their working hours were also not fixed. For all these reasons, Mahatma Gandhi introduced his third successful satyagraha in 1918 at Ahmedabad, Gujarat, for the betterment of cotton mill workers. So these three important satyagraha back to back introduced by Mahatma Gandhi, and by these three important satyagraha, Mahatma Gandhi received a very important place in a national freedom struggle. Let's see about in a brief which we have to discuss today. Effect of the First World War, which responsible for the nationalism, which is responsible for increasing nationalism in India. The First World War causes a very disastrous result in our India. First, taxes were increased by Britishers. Price of food crops were especially doubled. Forced recruitment, people of Indian villages were forcibly recruited in a British army. Crop failure during the 1917 to 1918, a massive drought and famine was observed in northern India. New leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and other nationalist leaders introduced themselves in a nationalist scenario of Indian society, and by their prestige, by their awareness, so many peoples were joined the nationalist freedom struggle. Then the three important satyagrahas launched by Mahatma Gandhi. First is Champaran Satyagraha, Kheda Satyagraha, and Ahmedabad Satyagraha. These, after launching these three important satyagraha, Gandhiji was received an important place in a nationalist freedom struggle. So that's all for today, student. Thank you.